Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Illinois Latino News Opinion Plus. This is a space for our opinions where we talk about current events and questions the Latino community is curious about. My name is Annabelle Rocha, editor and reporter of Illinois Latino News. We talk a lot about resources and giving aid to people who need it, but one thing that is often overlooked is the need for period products. The lack of access to menstrual products, education, hygiene facilities, or waste management is called period poverty or menstrual poverty. The Period Collective is a local nonprofit committed to supplying menstrual hygiene products to homeless and low-income people throughout Chicagoland. Today we're joined by Ida Melbye, the executive director of the Period Collective. Thank you, Ida, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I wanted to ask, what inspired you to start the Period Collective?
A friend of mine told me about an organization that her cousin had started in Michigan, and it was an organization just like ours. And after she told me about it, it was something that I couldn't stop thinking about. And I had been fortunate enough to not be in a situation personally where I experienced period poverty. But I think anybody with a period can really understand immediately what it feels like to not have access to the products that you need at that time of the month. And so I just found that it was unacceptable that this was happening in our own backyard. And I feel like period poverty is something that we often think of happening in the global South, but it is definitely a problem right here in our community. And I just felt like it was something that I could help with. And as I said, I just felt like it was something that was unacceptable to me, that it was happening right here.
Definitely. So how does your organization work? Do you supply the products directly to people, or do you partner with other organizations who do that?
It's a little bit of both, but most of our distribution is through partners. So we have about between 50 and 60 partners local in the greater Chicago area, and they are organizations like homeless shelters, transitional housing facilities. We work with schools, after-school clubs, food banks, social services organizations, really any type of organization that work directly with the clients that we're trying to reach. So that is the majority of our distribution, but we also do some direct distribution to clients, and those are usually through events that either our partners have, and we also have partnered with several of the state representatives and state senators. So whenever they have an event, like a food donation event or a backpack event, like a back to school event, like a coat distribution event, we will be there and distribute directly to those that need it. So that is a smaller part of how we distribute. Most of it is through our partners.
So it sounds like you're doing a lot. Like you have your hands in a lot of areas. What is the current demand for the products that you provide?
The demand stays high. We during COVID, we saw a big jump in demand as people were losing their jobs and they didn't have the product that they needed. And there were a lot of new individuals that were experiencing unemployment and things like that. So definitely during COVID, the demand went up, and it hasn't really come down. So we've seen kind of a steady demand since then.
Do you feel like there's a particular age demographic that's mostly affected by period poverty here in Illinois?
I feel like it is all ages. We work with, as I said, we work with schools. So even those individuals who are experiencing, periods for the very first time, and all the way up to those that are going through menopause. So we see the need across all ages. I feel like the schools have been a little bit more active in contacting us to be able to get the products. But yeah, it seems to be an issue that, age is not a factor.
Sometimes I think that people who don't have periods don't really understand that not being able to care for your period can impact other areas of your life. And you mentioned schools, but can you talk about how some of the ways that a lack of products can lead to bigger issues or more issues?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the first thing is, what do people do when they don't have access to the products they need? A lot of people will, put some toilet paper in their underwear. They might use a newspaper that they get out of a trash can, a sock that was donated to them at a homeless shelter. A lot of the ways that people cope when they don't have the product that they need can lead to infections and other health issues. So that is kind of the big issue that we really are concerned about people's health when they do not have access to the products. But I think people can imagine what it's like to try to go to work if you don't have adequate protection, or a job interview. If you've lost your job and you're trying to become employed again, it's really hard to focus during a job interview if you're worried about leaking through your clothes. So we see issues like that. And for kids in school, when they don't have access to the product they need, it's very hard to focus if you're sitting in class and worrying about that. What we see is a lot of kids miss school uh, repeatedly when they're on their period because they feel like they can't go, and that of course causes issues throughout their life, really, because if you start missing school when you're 10 to 12 years old and you miss several days every time you have your period, that's going to start affecting your ability to complete your work. It's going to affect your ability to do well on tests and on standardized tests. And that again is going to affect your ability to get into secondary education. And so we see that period poverty that starts in elementary school can have an impact on individuals for the rest of their lives. And I think that's something that you don't necessarily think about when you hear about period poverty, but this is this is a thing. And also, if you are unable to go to work, obviously you can lose your job, which affects your family situation. We see a lot of individuals who have to choose between buying period products and buying their family dinner, or maybe buying their kid a birthday present. And we just don't want to see anybody in that situation. And there's also a certain level of shame that comes with not being able to provide something so basic for yourself or maybe your kids. And that can really take a toll on somebody's mental health. So there's impacts that really affect all parts of your life. And one thing that we don't necessarily talk about very often is how expensive it is to be poor. And if you don't have maybe access to a car, or you're working 3 jobs, so you can't make it to a Walmart or a Costco to buy product in bulk, and you have to buy your product at the corner store, that's going to be a lot more expensive. And I just feel like when you don't have access to the product that you need, there are so many areas of your life that you can't fully participate in. You can't go to school. Kids maybe don't do extracurricular activities. And so there's all these experiences of really like a full life that you don't get to have if you don't have the product that you need.
And so many people are going through this, and so few people are talking about it. One of the biggest issues that contributes to period poverty is the stigma surrounding periods and just talking about menstruation in general. In your opinion, how do you think that we overcome these barriers?
I think the best thing we can do is talk about it. I feel like there's a lot of cultural and religious barriers to removing those kind of stigmas, but really the best thing we can do is to talk about it. I remember one time I was going to deliver product to one of our new partners. It was an after school club that worked with high schoolers. And the individuals in charge of the program, they asked me, how do we communicate to the girls that we have this product? Like, how do we communicate it discreetly? And I was like, you don't. You announce it to the whole group that this is something that you have now, it's available. And the more that, that everybody can hear, it's a normal bodily function. And the more that everybody can hear about it, and the more that people are aware that it's a problem, the more normalized it's going to become. And I do see, I think the younger generations are doing a little bit of a better job with it. You know, you see more posts on social media talking about it, normalizing it. My daughter had some friends over one time, and they were getting ready to go out, and one of the girls started her period while she was here, and she yelled from the bathroom, you know, that she had gotten her period. Does anybody have a tampon? And we have three boys. And, you know, I thought it was great that she felt okay to just yell that into our house, because she could have easily just texted my daughter or me. So I do feel like it's getting a little better, but I hope that, you know, leaders in, you know, religious leaders and cultural leaders that maybe historically has had a harder time talking about these things. I hope that they can normalize it by, you know, just making it normal. Like, this is something that happens to us. You know, we don't need to shove a tampon up our sleeve to go to the bathroom. You know,
Yeah.
so any little thing, everybody that can talk about it a little bit more is going to help.
And that's the thing, it is normal. It's not like this crazy phenomenon that just happens. Like, it's normal. It's very much normal.
Yeah.
You touched on my next topic, which is inclusion. Period poverty is generally considered a woman's issue, but it's not exclusively a woman's issue, right? Not everyone who experiences menstruation or menstrual poverty identifies as a woman. How are you and your organization working to be more inclusive?
Yeah, I'm glad you're asking about that, because I think that's something that is more common now to talk about. Also, that, you know, individuals have periods that don't and identify as female, and we are actually right now redoing our entire website to make sure that our language is more inclusive. And that being said, the vast majority of the individuals that receive product from us do identify as female, but we want to make sure that everybody knows that we support them. We don't put any kind of barrier as to who can receive product from us. As a matter of fact, when we are at the events, we will approach men and ask them if they have, you know, a girlfriend or a wife or a daughter or something that needs product, and they're sometimes really uncomfortable, but we want to, you know, as part of normalizing it, that's part of what we do. But yeah, I'm just making sure that the language that we use is inclusive, and that, you know, we hope that all our partners also are inclusive in who can receive product from them. Unfortunately, that's kind of out of our control, but if we do hear that that's an issue, we will absolutely do something about it. But yeah, everybody is welcome to receive product from us.
Perfect. What resources would you like to share with the viewers today?
Um, I think I think lately there has been a push from politicians to require products to be available in more locations. So all schools are required to have product in bathrooms, and it's required in all bathrooms, not just the girls' bathrooms, which is great in terms of being inclusive, you know, so that individuals that use the boys' or the men's bathroom also has access to the products. Um, the same with colleges and universities that are state schools. They are required to have these products. Homeless shelters are required to have these products. So I would like for your viewers to know that these places are supposed to have them available. Um, I think to contacting your state reps and your senators and making sure they know that this is something that's important to you is very helpful. Illinois has kind of been on the forefront of making sure period poverty is something that is discussed on that level. And I think the more they hear from the constituents that this is something that's important to them, um, the more you know, the more places these items will be available. So if you are somebody that are in need, those are some places that you can go. that should have the products for you. But really, any type of organization that works with those individuals that are struggling financially should be approached. Whatever organization that you're comfortable going to should be approached.
Thank you. So there's definitely resources out there. I've been doing a lot of research and talking to a lot of organizations, and I must say that the Period Collective is definitely one of the leaders in menstrual equity here in Illinois. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Join us next time for another episode. For more information about our discussion today, check out our web story on ILLatinonews.com and follow us on Twitter at ILLatinonews. I'm Annabelle Rocha with Illinois Latino News Opinion Plus. See you next time.